Here we go. Pugs Moran here, the High Noon Rant. Saying the quiet part out loud since 2021. Every single day we get together here. Hi, everybody. Let me get the chat room going. Barney's here. What up, Barney? Who else is in the chat room? We got our guy Pete. Of course, we got Taronda. I don't take Taronda for granted. Every day, she doesn't say much. Yeah, I appreciate that she's here. She's present. She says hi. She checks in. God, that means a lot to me. Thank you, Taronda. Thank you, Barney. A bunch of you I can take for granted. Like I'll take Barney for granted. I'll take Byron for granted. I'll take Peter for granted. They're my boys. We're good. Taronda is just Taronda every day. Every day she's the first one I see. I love it. Kevin Barber's here. I saying last names. Listen to me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be saying last names, but that's how I know him. So we're old friends. Let's see. Byron, what up, B? Al is here. April is here. Who else do we have? Say hello to everybody. Okay, just fill into the chat room. Oh, boy. Let me get this straight. How about this day, huh? Can we just start before? It's the stream of consciousness. It begins the minute I hit go and I start talking. That's what this show is. It's 2 hours of a narcissist, a middle-aged, failed, has been, never really was, narcissist, just spewing about the day's events, headlines, hot topics, current events. That's what this show is. We are current events-driven hot talk, the way it's not allowed to be done on the radio. Well, at least that's what they tell me. And by they, I mean every radio station that, I don't know, it's not true. We don't do politics. We don't do divisive bullshit. And that's hard to do because we're going to talk State of the Union. We're going to get into that a little bit. But that's fun. That's fun. That's because that's something that I want to watch today. I'm thinking that maybe if there's an avenue, because here's the other thing we like to do here at the radio, misfits.com podcast and live streaming network. We like to cover live breaking news, or at least I do. I like to jump in. So subscribe, do whatever you got to do. Follow all of that stuff. Because sometimes if something big is happening in the news, I'll just jump in, whether it's 7:30 at night or, 11 a.m. on a Saturday. It doesn't matter. That's what we like to do here. We like to cover and watch news as it unfolds live. Tonight's State of the Union, I would like to do a watch party. I would like to all get together, but I think it might get mean. And that's a fear. My other fear is that, the streaming times is so different. It's like, we'll all be watching it like 30 seconds behind, a second behind, I'm 15 minutes ahead. I wouldn't be surprised with the way smart TVs work. So anyway, maybe we'll do that. I don't know. I don't like politics, but I love the State of the Union because I think there's so much more to make fun of than and it's an opportunity to just trash everybody because they're going to show everybody. You can make fun of stupid people's hair. My favorite part of the State of the Union is when the president enters. Mr. Speaker, there's like a whole ritual involved. We'll get to that. We'll get into why I enjoy the State of the Union for purely non-political reasons. We do the show in 4 quarters. 4 quarters, 4 distinct segments that fit together to create the stream of consciousness High Noon Rant. First quarter is called Antecedently on This Day. That's where we take a look back at all the things that have helped shape our understanding of this day throughout history. Quarter 2, birthdays, self-explanatory. Quarter 3, deaths. These are the people who died on this day. These are the people who died. We go through a list of famous people, notable quotables, if you will, who passed away on this very day. We open up their life's resume, and we stand in judgment of them. We decide whether they went to heaven or hell. That's fun. I like that. That's one of my favorite things. I don't know why. I try to be a good person, but when, I'm drawn to shit like that, maybe I'm a piece of garbage. I don't know. Moving on. Quarter 4 is the headlines, trends, hot topics, all the stuff that's happening in the world that we need to know about. If they're screaming about it on the CNN box or the Newsmax box, however it is that you get your bullshit. If they're screaming about it, I'm going to tell you why they're screaming about it. I'll scream about it a little, and then we move on. Again, we don't get into divisive politics here. I don't give a shit if you're red or blue. Anybody who sees themselves as red or blue, to me, is like, all right, whatever, dude, we ain't talking politics. Because that, to me, and that is the whole purpose of this show, is to point out that most of us can get along, even if we disagree on the stupid shit. I shouldn't I shouldn't say stupid shit because, what I consider to be stupid shit may not be stupid shit to somebody else. And that's kind of the essence of politics, right? But anyway, what a day we're having here as we do the show here in the beautiful 1%er compound. The Comfort Nest Studios, high atop the 1%er compound in beautiful downtown Highland Park, Texas. We're not even downtown. I always say that. Somebody said to me, he's like, you're not in downtown. I go, there is no downtown Highland Park. Jesus. What a day. Should we take a peek? Ooh, you can't really get a good perspective on that because of the way the sun is. It can best be described here as dreary. Best be described here in the 214 as dreary. Let me tell you, I love this. This is the last couple of days. I've been telling you, been going through the depression. I've been battling the ennui, and a lot of stresses and all that stuff. But whatever. We don't need to. I gotta tell you, a day like this is medicine for my soul. And isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that I love a mid-morning that is dark and rainy and dreary. It's my happy place. And I mean that. And I know that sounds odd because I'm not a down person. I'm a pretty up person. But man, I love this. And you know why? I know exactly why. And we've talked about this in therapy like years ago. It goes back to one of my, how we have these vivid memories from our childhood? And they're randomly vivid. Like there's nothing significant occurred that you should totally remember that, but it's just a moment in your lifespan that made an impression and that moment for me came when I was in 6th grade at Liberty School in Orland Park, Illinois. Liberty School was one of these modern 70s schools that had open classrooms. I mean, anything to be distracted. It was like the worst idea ever because you could see your friend 3 classes away because there were no walls. Open classrooms. It was a concept. Anyway, I went to one of those schools. It was cool if you were a kid who wanted to dick around, but I don't think ultimately it was good for education. But we also had glass walls. My class was against a glass wall, floor to ceiling glass. You could see outside. And for some reason, I remember sitting in that classroom and looking outside. And it was probably 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. And it was raining and it was thundering and it was dark. And I just remember sitting at my desk looking out at that and going, oh, that is awesome. Yeah. Hey, it's my happy place. It takes me back. For some reason, it connects with me. Dreary days. Some people are like that. I'm not going to go all Morrissey on you. Like I'm not like an emo kid or anything, but I just enjoy it. The other thing, another thing that is my happy place. I had another experience that is vividly one of these vividly random experiences from being a child. Friends, I'll give you another one. My earliest memory, another one that we uncovered in therapy. My earliest memory. I was a baby, and I vividly recall my grandmother saying, he's too old to still be in diapers. He should be further along. My grandma said this to my mom while my mom was changing my diapers while I was still a baby. Maybe I was potty training, whatever. I shouldn't remember that, but isn't that weird? And that's what we uncovered in therapy. That's why I am so sensitive to criticism. How crazy is that? It's because my earliest memory is of my grandmother criticizing my mother and then adding that it was my fault because I on some level, I understood that as a baby and I felt, so isn't that weird? Anyway, it's a nice dreary day. What is this? Hold on. Oh, okay. I just got a news alert. Never mind. I can't say that. I was going to say, I almost just slipped and gave too much information about my son. My son's high school's basketball team apparently has a perfect season, which is good. There's a local news headline on that. All right, what do we do here? I told you it's the High Noon Rant, and this show has been going on, as I say, saying the quiet part out loud since 2021. This show exists because of you guys and your donations. That's right. It's that week. It's that week where I push every day. The person who tips the best, and we encourage you to tip because that's how this show is funded. The person who tips the best becomes the executive producer. And today we had a bunch of people to choose from. Thank you so much to everybody who donated yesterday. We are so close to our goal. But today's executive producer is April. God damn, what would I do with? between my Leslies, my Aprils, my Christine, like, I got angels. Charlie had angels. I got angels too. So thank you so much to April. But we are so close, guys. I think, and I did the math really quickly, and I apologize if I'm off. I might I'm like, is that right? It was one of those things. It's like, is that right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, it's 2 minutes after noon. I'm already late. So I just went with it. I think we're at $40 or something. I don't know, whatever. It says that down 60 maybe. It says it down there on the scroll. So anything you can do by the end of show today, we need to raise our final number. But here's the thing, you guys. We got close enough that we made it. We're close enough. I mean, I could at this point. I mean, at this point, we're close. So, thank you. So if you can get us across the finish line, that'd be great. If you can't, it's all right, man. We did it. We got together. You know, we're good. Not perfect, but we're good. What is the enemy of good? Perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good. We're good. Thank you. We still could use, you know, if you feel so inclined, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to throw another 20. I think that'll get us there. And by the way, whatever goes over the top, I'll let you know tomorrow if we're over the top or if we make it. But whatever goes over the top just goes into next month. It just makes the number lower when I start pushing at the end of next month. All right, enough of this stuff. We hate this stuff. But here's the reminder if you are so inclined. Should we get started? We should. I'm going to have to bail out of the show. I know I said it yesterday. Yesterday, I was like, I'm going to have to cut the show early. And then we went to like 2:30. We went like an extra half hour. Today, we really got to hit the show early because the thing I was supposed to do yesterday, I didn't do because I was having too much fun with you guys. That's how important you guys are to me. The last couple of days, I've done these, you know, very honest shows about my feelings and how I feel and, you know, the whole depression thing. So I've been talking about that. And when I tell you that when I'm in that spiral, doing this show is like the most amazing medicine. So that's why yesterday I was like, fuck it, I'm going to keep going. But today, guys, I can't. Today, I gotta. It's rainy. It's, you know, it's bad outside. So I gotta do what I was supposed to do yesterday. So if you'll grant me that, you know, I'll promise you I'll make it up on the back end tomorrow. Okay. Let's get started here. What do you say? Let's start. Let's start the high noon rant with me, your humble host, Pugs Moran. It is the seventh day. I always got to double check that. That's the worst. When I put together this day in history and then notice that I put the wrong date. Oh, I've done that a couple times. I got to do it twice. Ugh. I don't do the whole thing because I start to realize, I'm like, wait, wasn't that from yesterday? You know, that whole thing. But it is decidedly the 7th day of March, the 66th day of the year. There's 299 more of these until New Year's Eve. So get those New Year's Eve plans started. All right, let's get the show started. That was a weird voice I just did. I just did weird voices. That's another thing you can expect from this show. Sometimes weird voices. On this day, antecedently in the year 1876, Alexander Graham Bell is granted a patent for an invention that he calls the telephone. Ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday, telephone. Alexander AGB posting up with the telephone. Stolen, right? Who did he steal that from? He probably stole that from somebody. Watson. Wasn't Watson his dude? Wasn't that the first phone call? Come here, Watson. I'm horny. I'm pretty sure if you check it, Google it. I don't know if Alexander Graham Bell stole. I don't know as much about Alexander Graham Bell as maybe I should. And I think the stuff I know about Alexander Graham Bell might actually be stuff I know about Edison, you know, like those two kind of bleed together, like, you know, fun facts and whatnot. Anyway, moving on, telephone, happy birthday. On this day in 1965, Bloody Sunday occurs. A group of 600 civil rights marchers are brutally attacked by the state and local police in Selma, Alabama. Man, this is that video that we all grew up watching. Oh, dudes in khakis and button-up shirts being attacked by police dogs, you know, on their arm. Oh my God, the brutality of that movement. They just wanted to sit at a lunch counter. They just wanted to be able to pick their seat on a bus. I mean, through the lens of history, right? That's why I always say, man, it's important to really take a breath on these issues and look at it and go, how is history going to perceive this? I always like to look at it this way. And by the way, I tell my son this all the time. Whenever I have like a take on something that is different from the norm, I always preach to my 14-year-old son, you remember in history, your dad said this. When all in the history is said and done, you remember your dad said this. It's important to me. Trying to be on the right side of history. And it forces you to take a look at the people around you and become a human being and go, wait a second, and lean on your moral character. Lean on your faith if that's what you're a thing, if that's your thing. God, man. 1965, Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama. Antecedently on this day in 1986 during, this was the Challenger disaster, divers from the USS Perseverance locate the crew cabin of the Challenger on the ocean floor. That was oh God, that's another video that is forever etched in my mind. The camera on the face of Krista McAuliffe's father. Krista McAuliffe was the first teacher in space. She was put on that Challenger mission. She died. Of course, everybody died. But they have the viewing stands like bleachers where like the family members and all that watch the launch. And I mean, of course, I remember the video of it exploding. Challenger, go for throttle up. That was it. Throttle up. And then he throttled up and the whole thing. But there was a camera that was trained on the face of Krista McAuliffe's father as he watched it. It is some of the most powerful video I've ever seen in my life. You see this man, he's not talking. But you see in his face, desperately trying to figure out what just happened to his daughter. It is, it's heartbreaking. Antecedently on this day in 1989, Iran and the United Kingdom break diplomatic relations after a fight over Salman Rushdie's satanic verses. I don't know what that's all about. Salman Rushdie, he had a good run. They had a fatwa out on him. He went a good 30 years before they caught up with him and stabbed him in the eye at a book signing. Yeah, just happened like last year. They finally got him. Last year before, stabbed him right in the eye. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Salman Rushdie. He slipped, got comfortable. That's what happens. He figured 30 years. Whew. Fatwas, no timetable, no statute of limitations on a fatwa. They got him. God, people are so weird. Let's see here. And by them people, them people. When I say them people are weird, I am specifically talking about them people, meaning radical Islamic terrorists who believe that fatwas are a thing that are perfectly cool. Okay? There you go. That's what I mean. So go ahead. Them people. Let's see here. Antecedently on this day, the tugboat Thomas Herbert sank off the coast of New Jersey, USA. That's the headline. That's all we got. Not a whole lot happened on this day. Not a whole lot. By the way, I should say something. Every single day, there was about 15 significant things that occurred during World War II. I tend to skip over those as I skip over major plane crashes and all that kind of stuff. Why do I skip over the World War II stuff? Because I'm way too into it. Because my rants on anything, I don't need the thing that occurred in 1943, to be the thing that I dedicate 5-6 minutes. So I just skip over it. I'm just like, by the way, not everybody's a middle-aged old man still obsessed with World War II like I am. Just move over, keep going. Antecedently, on this day in 2007, the reform of the House of Lords. Some good step forward in British Parliament. So British Parliament, if you think of it like this, they have an upper and a lower house just like we do. We have an upper house, the Senate, and a lower house, the Congress. Excuse me. They have a House of Lords, which is their upper house, and then they have the House of Commons. Is that what they call it? Did I call us the House of Commons? They have the House of Commons. We have the House of Representatives. Okay, so they have the House of Commons, which means the House of Common People. So the House of Commons, you always had to run for that. That's popular election. House of Lords, their version of the Senate is hereditary or had been hereditary, which means just any fucking idiot who was born silver spoon could have the power of a senator simply because his parents won a land, or his great-great-great-grandparents won a land battle in 1720. It's bizarre. And it was on this day that Britain finally went. And think about that, 2007. Took them to 2007 before they were like, that's probably not a good idea. And now, of course, the House of Lords, the upper chamber, is also an elected position, which is still almost completely filled with the same guys who were the heredity guys. But it's a start. It's a start. It's good. But man, 2007, hey, Brits. Although I could say the same thing about it's 2024 and there's still a dude running around we call King Charles. So, baby steps, I guess. Reminds me of a very funny, one of my favorite, oh boy, going to trigger some people, but one of my favorite Shane Gillis bits in his act is about where he talks about Alabama football and how he doesn't like Alabama football. He doesn't like Alabama football because of their racial integration policy. And he talks about how he watched a documentary about Bear Bryant and how, Alabama for all those years are like, we're Alabama football, just white boys, no black boys. I mean, this is his bit. I'm doing it terrible. Alabama football, there's good white boys. Go anywhere, we'll kick anyone's ass. And he talks about how they move the USC comes down to Alabama with a team full of black dudes and beats them by like 50 points. And Bear Bryant was like, well, I think we ought to integrate. I mean, I'm doing his bit wrong. But the tag to the bit is that he doesn't like Alabama and Bear Bryant because that was 1972. It took until 1972 for Bear Bryant and a loss by 50 points to a black team from USC for Bear Bryant to go. Same thing with England. 2007, you don't get credit for that. Alabama doesn't get credit for integrating in 1972, 4 years after the Civil Rights Act was signed. Sorry, Alabama. Sorry, Bear Bryant. You weren't this great Lincoln-esque figure who integrated your team. You just knew you were going to lose your job if you didn't have some dudes who could run like sub 4-6 things. Reform of the House of Lords. Antecedently on this day in 2009, the Irish Republican Army kills 2 British soldiers and injures 2 other soldiers and 2 civilians at a Mazarine barracks, the first British military deaths in Northern Ireland since the end of the Troubles. Troubles ended, of course, in 1998 with Bill Clinton signing that peace accord between Northern and Southern forces. Between Northern and the Republic of Ireland, which is where I'm from. That's Dublin. There's another one. That's the Northern Ireland. Those are orange people who still bend the knee. My people do not bend the knee. My people have never bent the knee. We will never bend the knee. So here's what's interesting about this. This happened in 2009, right after the Troubles ended. This is in a group calling themselves the Real Irish Republican Army. Now, we all know the term the IRA, but do we know how complicated that term is? The IRA has been like 50 different groups. There is still an IRA, but the IRA has a political wing called Sinn Féin, and they've sort of been mainstreamed. And, there are people who were members. So here's what happened. After that peace deal I told you about with Clinton, after Clinton brokered that peace deal, and by the way, I think that's what got him the Nobel Prize, but after Clinton, I could be wrong, after Clinton brokered that deal, there were members of the IRA who were like, bullshit, we ain't putting down our arms. So they formed a group called the Provisional IRA, right? So you got the IRA, and now you got the Provisional IRA, and they're existing at the same time. Then the dudes inside the Provisional IRA all got busted because they got deemed terrorists, whereas now the IRA was actually being welcomed, or at least treated like they had a political party that was winning election seats. So Sinn Féin and the IRA, they were okay. But now you got this offshoot, and they're terrorists, so they all go to jail. And then the remnants of that form this new group, the New IRA. I mean, it's like bands. It's like, we're the new originals. We're the originals. We're the provisional originals. I'm telling you, there are people in I don't see them. You know what this is kind of like? This might be like when a Palestinian, somebody who is had the ethnically Palestinian. I'm not talking about, we're born there, but I'm talking about, Americans, people in America here who are ethnically Palestinian who are like, I don't feel bad for what Hamas did. I don't feel bad for this fight against Israel. I don't feel bad. I get that as an Irish person because I'm of the ilk that Ireland should be united, that we shouldn't have to give up 30% of our country because the king still says so. I don't. So with the IRA and all that stuff, I mean, I don't see them as terrorists. I truly see them as freedom fighters who are trying to unite their goddamn country that was split not in half. I mean, the good Ireland still has, and I shouldn't say that because Northern Ireland is fine. It's beautiful. I just prefer Dublin to Belfast. All right, moving on. That's going to do it for Antecedently on this day. Now let's move into the birthdays. Let's talk about people who claim it's their birthday. They say it's their birthday. We have no way of knowing for certain. Let's see here. Born like this one. How do we know this is his birthday? Nobody even knew how to write back then. 1671. Okay, I know people could write in 1671. Rob Roy McGregor, Scottish outlaw. There you go. That's a little something from my boy Rob Barr. My boy Rob Barr from Witch Kitty, the band. He's a San Francisco alt artist and producer and record company owner. And he's so talented. And he also runs that Hire a Hero organization that is just bang up. Got to see a good person. Anyway, moving on. Rob Roy McGregor. I know that Rob Barr is a true Scotsman, and he appreciates that. Born on this day in 1671, so they say. Born on this day in 1934, Willard Scott. He's the original Ronald McDonald, and then Today's Show weatherman who used to put old people on TV and go, look at how old they are. Isn't that weird? I mean, look, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically the bit, right? That was, look at her. She's gorgeous. Oh, stop it. She looks like a prune. She looks like a prune in a bib. Willard Scott, born on this day in 1934. Born on this day in 1940. Here's one. I don't know what the hell happened to this guy. Could you imagine being one of the most high-profile stars on television? You're a high-profile star of the most critically acclaimed television show of its time, meaning you are respected. You are respected, and also you are beloved. He also found himself a sex symbol. I think my mom liked him. Yeah, my mom liked Martin Mull. I know that one for a fact. My mom growing up had a picture of Martin Mull magneted to the refrigerator. She liked Martin Mull. I think she also liked this guy, if memory serves. I don't know what happened to him, but Daniel J. Travanti, the star of Hill Street Blues, Frank Furillo, he did nothing. How did he do nothing? Did he get his bag? He might have got his bag. Daniel J. Travanti might be one of them dudes who was like, you know what? I just did 8 seasons of Hill Street Blues. I got like 10 million in the bank. I don't need this bullshit. If that's true, respect Daniel J. Travanti. But I ain't seen him in anything. I want to see him in something. Although he'd be so old now. He's born in 1940. I mean, that's not old. It's not like 90, 100. But that's older. That's like my point is he's going to look different. Because the last time I saw him, he was like a 45-year-old, Frank Furillo. He, like I said, I think he was voted America's hottest man or something or whatever. I don't know. There you go. Happy birthday, Daniel J. Travanti, wherever you are. Big Gen X star who just went. Born on this day in 1942, Michael Eisner. He's a rich guy, F him. Runs Disney. He's the Disney dude. Born on this day in 1942, one of my favorite people, and this is kind of a shocker, but again, I can't go on enough about how lovely of a woman this was. Everything about her made me go, oh God, this lady is intolerable. And then you meet her, and I had occasion to spend a lot of time with her, and then you meet her, and you're like, God, is she like the nicest person ever? Happy birthday, the late, great Tammy Faye Mesner. And it was extra painful because people were so mean to her. I mean, do you remember how much Tammy Faye Mesner was made fun? Tammy Faye Baker. She was made fun of. Now, look, there is some complicity there, I think, with Jim Baker, but she really is a girl of her time. Like, she married a guy, and I think she truly was devout. And I don't think because of the relationship, like, She didn't know the business. She didn't know what her shyster husband was getting into. And she defended him. She was her husband. They had kids together. Oh, people were so mean to her. Terrible with makeup. That's a weird, she can't run away from that. She didn't know how to put on makeup and she just used way too much of it. And people just hammered her on that. Must have been just humiliating for her. It's too bad. Because she is, again, such a sweet woman. Such a sweet woman. Tammy Faye Baker Mesner, born on this day in 1942. Born on this day in 1944. Here's one of them dudes. One of them dudes, boy. Born on this day in 1944, right here in Fort Worth, Texas. The great. I don't think he's as appreciated as he should be. Townes Van Zandt. That's right. Texas royalty. He's part of the Van Zandt family. Basically settled Texas. Townes Van Zandt was a singer, songwriter, outlaw, troubled, demonized, incredibly talented, extremely well respected by massive superstar artists, wrote songs for everybody. I think his defining song was Poncho and Lefty. Willie Nelson. Was that Willie and Waylon or Willie and Merle? It was a duet. I don't know. I should know that. God. Anyway, there you go. Happy birthday, Townes Van Zandt, born on this day in 1944. Here's another one. Here's another guy who's one of them dudes who we could talk a little bit about institutional racism when it comes to this guy, because the reason you've never heard of him is because the record industry didn't think he would play. And that's unfortunate because he's a genius. And everybody who worked with him was like, that dude was probably the greatest rock star of the 1960s. And he was not. Now you might say, well, what about Jimi Hendrix? Jimi Hendrix was different. He was an exhibitionist. By that, I mean, it was his guitar. People would watch the guitar. The guitar was almost more important than the color of the skin playing him. So record companies went with Jimi Hendrix. This guy, Arthur Lee. Arthur Lee. Never heard of him. Arthur Lee was the lead singer of a band called Love. I don't know specifics, but when the band finally broke up, and the bands went on to do other things, and Arthur Lee did some solo stuff, but his career never took off. They were supposed to be bigger than the Byrds. And then radio stations and record companies started to push back on playing their music. They were the biggest band in Southern California. They were the biggest band on the Sunset Strip at a time when they were competing with the Doors, the Byrds, Buffalo Springfield, a young Jackson Browne. I mean, Love was the band that everybody wanted to see. And so they immediately got signed. And then the radio stations were like, yeah, because they unfortunately put his picture on the cover of the album. And the radio stations were like, we didn't know he was black. This is a black, these are why is it a black guy with what? It was just a very weird thing. It became troubling. So the record company walked away and Arthur Lee never became anything. Here, you know what? I want to show you this. Here, I'll give you an example of Arthur Lee. There is very, very little video of him from national TV and all that stuff. But I think this is American Bandstand. This is Arthur Lee on American Bandstand with his band Love, just to give you an idea of who this guy was. And here's why I mention him, why I think he's so cool, and how I first came to know him. He's considered to be the first punk rocker. His style, his music. I mean, he was basically doing a form of weird, non-traditional punk rock in 1966, and the kids were going nuts for it. Here he is. I think this is from American Bandstand. Hold on, let me pull this up properly. I know I'm spending a lot of time on Arthur Lee, but he's a dude that I've always been interested in because his story is fascinating. So, okay, let's look at this. This is their interpretation of the song Little Red, which is a classic song. Hold on. Folks, this is a one-man band show, so it's hard for me to. Let's get rid of this. All right, let's watch this. This is a little bit of Arthur Lee on his birthday, someone who you don't know, but who you should. It's just that radio program directors refused to play his music because they didn't think the white rock and roll audience would take to him. They were proved wrong a couple of years later with Jimi Hendrix, but okay. This is Arthur Lee. American Bandstand.
minute that you said goodbye. I thought that through my little red book I wasn't gonna sit and cry. And I went from A to Z. I took out every pretty girl in town. They danced with me. And as I held them, all I did was talk about you. I started to cry.
Good enough.
Just don't get over you.
All right. We don't need to play the whole song, but there you go. That's Arthur Lee on his birthday. Arthur Lee died in 2006. Born on this day, happy birthday, 1946, to John Hurd. John Hurd is one of those, is he one of those that guy actors? John Hurd played a whole bunch of roles. I think isn't he the dad in Home Alone? We talked about Catherine O'Hara. I think John Hurd might be the dad in Home Alone. Anyway, he's been in a whole bunch of things, but my favorite role is the role he played as the corrupt police detective on the payroll of Tony Soprano in The Sopranos. The degenerate gambler detective that Tony had somehow flipped to giving him because he owed Tony so much money in gambling debts. Happy birthday to the dead, John Hurd. John Hurd. Born on this day also in 1946, Peter Wolf, lead singer of the Jay Giles Band. Peter Wolf is, this has never happened before. It's been tried a million times. And what am I talking about? Well, actually, maybe it's happened before. Maybe Peter Wolf is just the best example of it. Every popular DJ in every major market has their own band, right? If you're the big Russ Martin had the Russ Martin Show band. In Chicago, the three big names, Steve Dahl had Steve Dahl's Teenage Radiation. Jonathan Bradmeyer had Johnny and the Leisure Suits. Kevin Matthews had Ed Zeppelin. It was just a thing. They always do shows because they're on the radio and they can promote their, hey man, I got a show tonight. And then they get to go out and play rock star and, feel all great. And it's fun. And I get it. And I understand why it's done that way. Peter Wolf was the guy who really converted it because the Jay Giles Band, he was hired to be the singer while he was a very popular disc jockey in Boston at WBCN. And being the singer of the Jay Giles Band was just kind of his weekend thing. Hey, come on out and see me in Federal Hall this weekend. It was that kind of a deal. Peter Wolf. Na 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 na. Born on this day in 1950, a man who was never afraid to run out of bounds 1 yard short of the first down. Franco Harris. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, what's this? You're not going to take any Franco Harris slander? That was true about Franco, man. And you know how I know? Because every year, Franco Harris was the guy who was right there, nipping at Walter Payton as the best runner in the game. I know, with Dorsett and Campbell as well. But it was really, I remember Franco. I remember what Franco do today. And the criticism of Franco Harris and why he was able to play so long and gain so many yards was because he avoided hits. Franco. And because he avoided hits, he holds the distinction. There's it's a crazy NFL fun fact where he ran out of bounds just shy of the first, avoiding a hit, just shy of the first down, like a billion times in his career, something like that. Hall of Famer. He died last year. He was great. Self-preservation, though, was his main thing, not getting that tough yard. Franco Harris. Bo Jackson and Henry, he is not. Let's see here. Moving on. Happy birthday. How weird is this? Born on this day in 1950, Franco Harris. Born on this day in 1952, Lynn Swann. The great Swanee, the wide receiver on the same team that Franco Harris played on. Franco was the running back. Lynn Swann and John Stallworth were the wide receivers. Terry Bradshaw was the quarterback. Man, that Pittsburgh Steelers team back in the 70s, they were pretty scary. All right, there you have it. Lynn Swann, 88. He was great. He was my favorite receiver my whole life growing up. Why? Because Chicago never had quarterback and receiver play. We never had anything to really be excited about. We had running backs. We had, whether it was Gale Sayers into Walter Payton and we into Neil Anderson. We always had running backs, but we never had a wide receiver. So I was a Lynn Swann fan. Loved Swanee. There's a great when Lynn Swann's iconic catch is There was some car dealership that had put a brand new car in the back of the end zone as like a promotion. And Lynn Swan caught a pass in the back of the end zone for a game-winning touchdown and ran on top of the car and stood on it for a second. And it's like, that's awesome. That's as good as Bo Jackson running into the tunnels and keep going, right? Bo Jackson. In that one, Bo Jackson ran over. Am I conflating two great Bo Jackson moments? Like in my mind, the conflation might be that Bo Jackson went right through Brian Bosworth on the goal line. It was like 1st and goal for the Raiders, and Jackson takes the ball, and it's Jackson against Bosworth. And Bosworth steps into the hole, and Bo Jackson just blows that bitch up, just explode. And then in my mind, I think he keeps running, and he goes through the but I don't think so. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think that was a long run. I think Bo broke a super long run and then kept running into the tunnel. Anyway, Bo Jackson, my favorite all-around athlete of all time. Anyway, moving on. Happy birthday, Lynn Swan. Born on this day in 1956. Here's another favorite of all of ours. Is this guy just universally beloved? Does everybody love this guy? Have you ever met anyone who'd gone, you know who I can't stand? I can't stand that Bryan Cranston. Everybody likes Bryan Cranston, but not in the same way everybody likes, say, Paul Rudd or Dave Grohl. Again, I used to be able to include Tom Hanks in that, but apparently everybody doesn't like Tom Hanks anymore. But like Dave Grohl, Paul Rudd, Bryan Cranston, everybody likes them. But I would be comfortable putting like Paul Rudd and Dave Grohl in the role of benevolent dictator, which is the thing that I think America needs. I think America just needs a cool guy that we all trust to say, will you just do the right thing? Like we trust that he will. So that for me, that would be Dave Grohl and or Paul Rudd. I think we could all accept those two dudes. Bryan Cranston, not so much. I don't know. I think it's maybe because of the Walter White stuff. Everybody loves Bryan Cranston, but I don't think anybody wants to put him in charge of anything. Moving on. Happy birthday, Bryan Cranston. Born on this day in 1956. What's your favorite Bryan Cranston? Is it the dentist from Seinfeld? That were the first time most of us saw him as the hysterical dentist in Seinfeld. How about Malcolm's dad in Malcolm in the Middle? Huh? We forget he did that role for a decade. And then he goes on and becomes one of the greatest television characters in the history of TV, Walter White, Breaking Bad. Everybody loved Bryan Cranston. I think the Malcolm in the Middle stuff might be a problem too with us making him president because he played a dumb guy. He played like a dumb dad who made every mistake in the book on Malcolm in the Middle. You combine that with the debauched mind of Walter White. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we're going to stick with Paul Rudd. All right, moving on. Born on this day in 1962. Tell it to her heart. Taylor Dane. Where'd she go? What happened to her? That chick could sing, man. I remember she was another one of these people that I totally dismissed back in like the 90s, but then heard her song again, probably, 20 years later. And I was like, hey, did I realize when I was making fun of her that she has like one of the best voices ever? Taylor Dane has a voice. Tell it to my heart. Tell it I'm the only one. That song is a banger too. That song is a banger. I'm sorry. Drop your bullshit. You put on Tell It to Your Heart. People gonna dance. that song's a banger. Happy birthday, Taylor Dane. I like the there's a riff, and it's a keyboard riff in that song. Actually, it's a solo. It's a weird solo, and I think it's a keyboard solo, but also it could be clown horns. Like, you ever seen like a clown standing in front of all of like bike horns and they go, that thing? I imagine in my mind that Taylor Dane song, Tell It to My Heart, has a clown horn solo. You guys know what I'm talking about? I think it's a clown solo. It's awesome. It's pretty good. Born on this day in 1964. Happy birthday to, and I'm going to say this. I had to think about this when I saw it was her birthday, and I thought about it a good 5 minutes. The most enjoyable radio guest I think I may have ever had. And by enjoyable, What I mean is there's a lot of baggage that comes in with guests, especially when they're celebrities. When celebrities come in, they're on guard. They're worried about, whether or not the hosts are assholes and are going to like put them in a weird position. Are they going to be nice? So, it's hard. It's very important when you interview these people, when you hear them on the radio, when you're, hey, coming up, man, we got Macaulay Culkin. I don't know why I said that. It's a stream of consciousness. That's the name that popped into my head. Hey, coming up next, we got Macaulay Culkin, man. We'll take a break. We'll come back with the kid from Home Alone, right? So in that commercial break, that's when they bring the guest in. And those moments, those initial off-air moments are so important because not only are you as a host kind of sizing up what they look like, what's their facial expression, do they look like they're in a good mood, do they look like they're pissed off, but as the interviewee, you also are sizing up the room. What kind of show is this? Are they going to ask me to show them my tits? That kind of thing. So that moment in the commercial break before they come back on the air and say, hey, we got Macaulay Culkin, that moment, there's some real heavy shit going on. There's a lot of, people trying to figure each other out. And I can tell you that in those moments, commercial breaks, the other big thing is during commercial breaks. Hey, man, we're going to take a commercial break. You stick around for another segment? If the guest says yes, like without a doubt, like, yeah, oh, I'd love to. That's legit. And they'll be back for another segment. A lot of times what you'll hear is if they're not having fun, oh, we gotta get moving. And then they look to the glass and then their PR person will be like hitting their watch and there's not a real time crunch. But, that's how you know. Wanda Sykes in commercial breaks when she came in. Oh my God, is that a lovely woman? That is just such a nice, conversational, fun woman. She remembers your name. She calls you by your name. That's something that I always am impressed by and something that I've tried to utilize in my professional life, but I can't. I'm just not good at it because I'm too much of a narcissist. I care too much about myself. But she's like, oh, that's funny, Pugs. Like, off the air, like, Kelly, can I ask you a question? Like, just so nice. Hey, Sybil, thank you so much for this cup of coffee. Wanda Sykes was one of the most kindly conversational people I've ever gotten to spend time with. I love her. It's funny. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a comedy special by her. I like her on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I like her as a personality, but I guess I'm not really getting her comedy. Happy birthday to the wonderful Wanda Sykes. All right, we got another. Okay, so let's run through these two. How about these two? I got crushes on both of these. For two totally different reasons. Born on this day in 1974. Happy birthday, Pam Beesly. Oh my God, it's Pam Beesly's birthday. And I use her character's name because I think Pam Beesly is more famous than Jenna Fisher. Because Jenna Fisher hasn't really, I don't know, where's she been? How come Jenna Fisher isn't a big star like Steve Carell and John Krasinski? How come Pam got left behind? Hell, even Mindy Kaling is a huge star, but somehow Pam Beesly. Guys, wasn't Pam, okay, so, sorry, it's a terrible way of looking at it. But if you were going to settle, like if you were just going to give up on all your life's dreams and all of this stuff, and you were just going to stay in your hometown and marry your high school sweetheart and have a job that you hate and pump out a bunch of kids and maybe coach Little League, if that's what you want to do, and that's a lovely thing, that is the backbone of America right there. Well, that's what you want to do. You couldn't do any better than Jenna Fisher or Pam Beesly. Right? I mean, she's like perfect. She's not Hollywood hot. She's not. She's like, she is Scranton hot. She's a Scranton 10. Pam Beesly, Jenna Fisher, love her. So kind too, just like so nice and so sweet. And she's got that vulnerability, but also a wit and a willingness to be silly. God, that's all that combination of Pam Beesly is very sexy. But I shouldn't say sexy because that's not it. Because it's not a sexual thing with her. It is I want to snuggle with her on the couch and make her pancakes in the morning kind of thing with Jenna Fisher. All right, now we're going to move on to a different one that appeals to me in the very same, with the very same force, but in a different way. And that is happy birthday, born on this day in 1980, Laura Prepon. I like Laura Prepon. You know why? Because those of you who are familiar with the weird things that I'm into with women, Laura Prepon checks the bitch you don't mess with box. Right? How can I both? Laura Prepon's characters and Pam Beesly are completely different characters. Pam Beasley will put up with your shit and she'll just passive aggressively make you pay for it over the course of 6 months. Laura Prepon, you screw her over, she's walking and she's probably going to punch you in the face. And I just think that's hot. Happy birthday, Laura Prepon from that 70s show. Oh, and Orange is the New Black, right? I think that's also what she did. Don't love her as a brunette. I like her. I like her as more of a redhead, but she's terrific. Laura Prepon, happy birthday, born on this day in 1980. All right, that's going to do it, folks. Let's move into quarter three. Quarter three is the dead people. Let's take a look at some folks who passed away on this day and then decide whether or not they're in heaven or hell. All right, let's move. Born on this day, or dead on this day in 1838, Robert Townsend. 1838, Robert Townsend died on this day. Y'all know who Robert Townsend is? You should. And, this is one of those things. Hamilton got a damn stage play, and everybody thinks Hamilton is this guy. Hamilton was kind of a con man. Sorry. He was kind of he was trying to get his own. Not this dude, not Robert Townsend. Robert Townsend is an American patriot who put everything on the line, and history has completely forgotten him. Who was Robert Townsend? Robert Townsend was, oh God, hold on, I got to clip that. Is it Culper Jr.? I don't know what his code name was. He ran George Washington's spy ring. Well, he didn't run it. What he did was, he was the most important part of it. Robert Townsend ran a bar, a pub, if you will, a boarding house in New York City when it was occupied by the British. And the boarding house that he ran was the preferred boarding house of the elite British military, the officers and all of that stuff. And he was able, by serving them beer and being their best friend and all of that and making them think that he is a loyalist to the Queen, he was able to overhear things that he then put in the pipeline of what was known as the Culper spy ring. And all of the information that he got was delivered directly to George Washington. Robert Townsend is a dude. Here, let me just give you a little bit about, if you're an American, God damn it, go read Robert Townsend's Wikipedia page. I'll get you started. Robert Townsend was a member of the Culper Ring. During the American Revolution, he operated in New York City with the aliases Sam Culper Jr. and number 723. All these operatives had code numbers. He gathered information as a service to General George Washington. He is one of the least known operatives in the spy ring and once demanded that Abe Woodhull, that's Samuel Culper, Abe Woodhull ran the Culper ring. But you never heard of him either. In the spot, and by the way, I hadn't either. You know how I know these dudes? Because of a TV show called Turn that was so good. If you have opportunity to see the television show Turn, it's about the Culper spy ring during the Revolution. It is fascinating. And the history is, and by the way, you can do this with the history of these kinds of shows now. You can just watch it with Wikipedia on your lap. So when something occurs, you can pause it and then you can go and you can cross-check and you can say, how historically accurate is this? Robert Townsend was a member of the Culper spy ring during the American Revolution. He operated in New York City with the aliases Culper Jr. and 723. He gathered information as a service to General George Washington. He's one of the least known operatives in the spy ring and once demanded that Abe Woodhull never tell his name to anyone, even to George Washington. That's a dude, man. That's a dude who put it all on the line for his country and then didn't want credit. And it said, no, keep me secret, man. That's a dude. That's an American. There you go, Robert Townsend, dead on this day. So guess where he's going? Yeah, you guessed it. We're putting him in heaven. Dead on this day in 1988, Divine. Divine is an icon to the trans community. Divine is John Waters' muse. Divine was the big, giant, cross-dressing trans person. I watched a documentary about Divine because I've always just been curious to it. We said the other day when we were talking about John Waters films, I never got them. Look, I tried to be like a film snob back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I was to a great extent. But I'm sorry, I just couldn't go along with the whole John Waters is a master. I would watch his films like Pink Flamingos and Crybaby, and I'd be like, this is terrible. This is just this ain't even a story. How is this a movie? Oh, it's so avant-garde and it's so provocative. I'm like, yeah, I don't need provocative. I listen to shock radio. I'm a teenager. I get provocative all day long. When I watch a movie, I just want to watch something good. I didn't get it. Divine, by the way, going to hell. Divine is going to hell because in that documentary, nice person, did a lot of sketchy ass things. Born on this day, or dead on this day, I should say, in 1991. Here's a dude. Here's another dude. I'm an old baseball head. You know how I love my old-timey baseball, my dead ball stuff, and my Negro League stuff. Cool Papa Bell, dead on this day. I'm putting the Cool Papa in heaven because Cool Papa was cool. I mean, of course, I don't know anything really about him. I don't know what he was because they didn't really take notes like that. But as far as baseball legend goes and baseball stories, Cool Papa Bell, he was he got the nickname Cool because of how he was on the base paths, which is to say he was the fastest base runner in the game. But he was cool because he was supposedly, he never got thrown out. He was cool. He knew when to go. He knew when. And Papa was something that he added to it, to the nickname, because he just thought that sounded cool together. Cool Papa. And he was right, because that's the greatest nickname in the history. I would love, like, if I ever had like 10 kids, I used to say this when I was younger. If I got like 10 kids, one of them is going to be named Cool Papa. Because that is just such a badass name. Fastest man in baseball, they say, still today. They say that they don't have any way to really prove it, but by everything that experts and all this stuff have said about him, he is certainly one of the fastest men in the history of baseball. He, every single time, not every single time, I mean, obviously there were exceptions, but you could count on him to score from first base on a single. Imagine trying to do that today with the arms we got in right field, you know? And he was also a center field. He started out as a pitcher, but then he transitioned to center field because he was so fast that they could basically have nobody in right field or left field because he could cover so much ground. He was that fast. So I'm putting Cool Papa Bell in heaven because he is one of those cool ass old school baseball dudes who never got to play in the big leagues, but absolutely dominated in the Negro Leagues. Let's see here. Born on this day dead on this day in 1999. Here we go. We're going to do this. I wait every year for this. So some of you might remember last year how this turned out. You know I'm a freak for filmmakers, right? You know that anytime a filmmaker who I enjoy gets a birthday or a death, you know, I always like to do the draft on them. Well, today we're doing a draft, and we're doing a draft of my favorite filmmaker of all time, because on this day in 1999, the good Lord stole Stanley Kubrick from us. God, I love Stanley Kubrick's films. Not all of them. And by the way, what's cool about Kubrick was that he only made, I mean, in a 40-year career, he doesn't have like a massive body of work. He just really went all in on every film, and it took him years and years to make every film, and every single one of them is basically a classic. I'll give you an example. I'm going to do the draft of Stanley Kubrick films, my favorite Stanley Kubrick films, and then we're going to do the guys who don't get drafted, the camp invites. All right, these guys didn't get drafted, but they got something, so we're going to bring them into camp. We're going to see what they have. I've only left 2 films off. All of his films are represented in one way in this draft, except for 2. There are 2 films that didn't make the cut for me, and I'm a Stanley Kubrick freak. Here we go. Stanley Kubrick draft on this, the anniversary of the day that by the way, he's in hell. Because he was a tyrant. He was known to be very difficult. So he's absolutely in hell. But man, what a filmmaker. Separate the art from the artist. All right. Stanley Kubrick draft. Here we go. Just like the NFL draft. The first one I name is going to be the best overall. First pick overall in the Stanley Kubrick draft is my favorite film of all time, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Yeah, that's the full title of that movie. Most people just call it Strangelove. Dude, I love Strangelove. Maybe other people. Dr. Strangelove is a good film, but almost nobody calls it by its real title, its full title, which is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Strangelove comes off the board at number 1 in the Stanley Kubrick draft. If you have not seen it, it's one of those films. I talk about the cultural education of my son, how I've made that a priority, where I want my son to grow up. I want my son to be a 25-year-old guy who can talk to people about culturally significant things that happened before he was born, you know? I want him to be able to talk about Led Zeppelin. I want him to be able to talk about the Beatles. I want him to be able to talk about Goodfellas and Godfather. I want him to not have these giant holes, because these are, in my opinion, things that are important to who we are as Americans, our culture. Strangelove, I'm waiting on. I need him. I think college. I think there is a risk that I won't watch Strangelove with him. There is a risk that he will discover it on his own when he's older and, thinking about other things. Here we go. Pick 2 off the board. This is a controversial one, only because the movie was so controversial and it was banned and nobody saw it. And the poor girl who starred in it, she got her entire career taken away from her. But if you've ever seen it, whoa, is it a great film? Stanley Kubrick's Lolita. That's right. They remade that movie a bunch of times. James Mason, Shelley Winters, Sue Lyon, and of course, the guy who steals the movie, Peter Sellers. Such a great film. God, Lolita was great. It's, the story of Lolita. She's an underage girl that is seduced by a grown-ass man who's boarding at her mother's boarding house. Lolita, however, is complicit in the Lolita. The whole thing is about Lolita is trying to piss off her mom because her mom likes this guy. And Lolita hates her mom the way a lot of young teen girls have problems with their moms. And she is now the man, if he was a good human being, would have been able to resist, but he wasn't. So it's a very complicated story, but it's amazing. Kubrick's Lolita. If you've never seen it, watch it this weekend. Seriously. And after you watch it this weekend, I want you to say to yourself, Pugs is right. Peter Sellers is like the greatest comedic actor of all time. Peter Sellers is amazing. Let's see. Moving on. More from the Kubrick draft on this, the day that he died in 1991. Number 3, we're going Full Metal Jacket. These 3 movies, man, are 3 perfect films. Strangelove, Lolita, Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is the best war movie ever made. Now, I'm in the bag. I'm in the bag for Kubrick, but there ain't a better. It came out around the same time as Platoon, Oliver Stone's Platoon. Full Metal Jacket is much better than Platoon, and Platoon's great. Full Metal Arlie Ermey. It gave us Arlie Ermey. Also, Vincent D'Onofrio as Pyle. Oh my God. Number 4. Number 4 off the Stanley Kubrick list. Draft. Number 4 is, in my opinion, the greatest horror film ever made. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. God, this son of a bitch was good. Shining's good, man. Shining is great. Number 5. Number 5 and the last pick in the Stanley Kubrick draft. We will be moving on to the free agent invites. Number 5 was hard. Number 5 was really hard, especially when you hear some of the camp invites. Number 5 was hard, but I went with A Clockwork Orange. A Clockwork Orange. And why did I go with it? Because I still at this age don't fully understand this movie, and it was in a period of Stanley Kubrick's filmmaking where I think he was really experimenting and really pushing the envelope of what filmmakers had done before. And I can tell you, having seen Clockwork Orange for the first time when I was about 12 years old, it was the most disturbing movie I ever saw. I still, not nightmares because I understood it was a film, but man, the imagery, the shock of A Clockwork Orange was a lot. Number 5 off the board in the Stanley Kubrick draft. Now let's move over. Some of these guys, there's a lot of talent left out there, and we got some camp invites. These couple films are going to be invited to camp. It's so crazy. Guess who didn't get drafted but is getting a camp invite? Spartacus! Inarguably one of the greatest films ever made. Spartacus. I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm doing. Spartacus didn't get drafted. That's right. Spartacus is a camp invite in the Stanley Kubrick draft. Paths of Glory. I think it is a lesser film. It's another one of these World War I films. I've only seen it once. I know it was good. I haven't gone back and revisited it, but I know that in my mind, I'm like, Paths of Glory is a good film. Paths of Glory. I wish I could remember more. The Killing. The Killing is another one. The Killing is one of the best dark 1960, 61. The Killing gets a camp invite. Very dark, very noir. See, Kubrick did all the genres, man. He did them all. He didn't do comedy. Unless you watched Eyes Wide Shut a certain way. then you can say, yeah, Kubrick did comedy. Did you see what he made Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman do in That Dog? Yeah. I should mention that Eyes Wide Shut is one of the 2 films that did not make it. Barry Lyndon also is going to get a camp invite. Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. My least favorite of all of these Kubrick films, Barry Lyndon, but still a good movie and certainly not one that we should take a look at him in camp. Barry Lyndon. All right, so the 2 that didn't make it, what are the 2 Stanley Kubrick films that I can't cut into? I already told you one, Eyes Wide Shut. The Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman secret Illuminati orgy movie. Remember that? I didn't get that movie. And I love Kubrick, so I'm like, I'm gonna see it. Yeah, and I was like, nope. Stanley, you did it to me again. Because he did it to me once before. When Stanley Kubrick movies are bad, they're just bad because I don't get them. I do not know what the hell is going on here. And the other one that I left off, probably his most famous film. Many would tell you it's his best film. Many would argue it should have been the number 1 pick and not Strangelove. Strangelove should have been second because 2001, A Space Odyssey. Nope, I left it off the list. I hate that movie. I hate that movie as a part of the Stanley Kubrick library. I don't get that movie. I've watched it 10 times. I've had deep conversations with my fellow Kubricophiles. And they've tried to explain it to me, and I'm like, but that doesn't make sense. What was he going for? You realize he was taking drugs, right? This is the Clockwork Orange 2001 era of Stanley Kubrick's. He was taking drugs, he was experimenting, he was doing all kinds of shit. I don't even think he knew it made sense, but you're here now 30 years later trying to break it down and speak for a guy that didn't know what it meant when he made it. 2001. I don't like that movie. I mean, there are cool moments to it, but as overall, it's like, what is happening here? What is going on now? Wait, is this a dream or is this out? Well, I just didn't get it. Stanley Kubrick, dead on this day. He's going to hell, but there you go. That concludes the Stanley Kubrick draft, my favorite guy. And that's going to conclude this segment of the Deads. That's it. Quarter 3 is in the books. I will remind you once again, if you're so inclined, you can help us out here. I heard the tip thing ringing. I can't check it during the show because it's way too distracting, but I heard that we did get a couple of tips. So thank you, folks. I think there's a good chance we may have gone over. And whoever got us there will certainly be thanked tomorrow. But I hope you understand. I just don't like to get into that while I'm doing the show because it's a mindset thing. One is extremely stressful and takes me out of the free flow. All right, let's get into it. These are all the big things that people are talking about. We're going to run through them here now. We only got about 40 minutes left. Like I said, I got to get out of here early. State of the Union is tonight. Okay. As I was saying, we might be looking at doing a live stream of the State of the Union, or at least, wait, could I do that? Could I, if I use the youtube.gov feed, maybe we could do it that way, where we could just watch it on the screen. I don't know. We'll see. Here are the things. Here are the most important things that I'm looking for in the State of the Union. Does he die? Is he gonna keel over? Is anything like that? No. Let's stop being silly. Although, let's be honest, I don't know what to expect. Am I gonna be? Are they gonna use subtitles? Because I'm not a Biden hater. I think he's a gentleman. I really do. I think he seems like he's a career politician, but he's not. He's not a pedophile. He's not a criminal. He's not all of these things. It's like, my God, you people are accused. You're projecting. It's crazy. Anyway, I just don't think he's the right guy. I just think he needs to go. I just think before he embarrasses himself anymore. Anyway, point is this. Here's what I'm looking for. Is he going to call for a ceasefire? Oh boy. The tone in this country has shifted very strongly. In the beginning, everybody was like, go Israel, go Israel. I'm telling you, walk down the street. Regular people are like, yeah, they need to stop. It needs to be over now. So is it considered, and this isn't about Biden's such a great guy, he's calling for a ceasefire. No, the question is, have they determined that it's politically advantageous to them to call for a ceasefire during the State of the Union in an election year? That'll be interesting to watch for, because that'll tell you exactly how this administration will be viewing moving forward. If they get a pop because he calls for a ceasefire, then he's going to go harder on that. And it's going to be his Nobel Peace Prize moment. Biden is going to Gaza. He is demanding that, the Israelis try and bomb while he's, is he going to do something like that? Who knows? But if he calls for a ceasefire tonight, and if he calls for it strongly, ceasefire. I mean, if he calls for it articulately, that could be the push of his campaign moving forward. That could be a very interesting thing. We could see how that becomes what they're going to. They should be run. Never mind. I don't want to go on that. State of the Union. The other thing that I'm looking for is he going to call Trump by name? Is he going to address Trump? Because, I've always felt that the best way to deal with Trump was to ignore him. Yeah, I stopped thinking that about a month before the 2016 election. Now, the way to deal with Trump is to stand up to him. The way to deal with Trump is to mock him. You have to make him look silly. You have to somehow. Is Biden going to say Trump's name? Is Biden now going to show that for the rest of the campaign that he is going to call Trump out? Because he hasn't. Trump every minute is Biden. Not Biden. Biden's like, that guy's weird. But will he call him by name? The other thing to look for is if he does so, does he refer to him as president? Because that's the way presidents refer to one another. If you're a former president and you're the sitting president, you refer to that person as, well, as President Carter was telling me. Will he do that? That's all very interesting. Will he be heckled? It's another thing I'm looking for in the State of the Union today. How crazy is it going to get, right? Remember the dude who, by the way, was completely taken out of politics. It blew up his career. Remember the guy who yelled, "You lie!" Never heard from that dude again. He was a star for like 72 hours. And then the Republican Party was like, this was before Trump, though. Right? This is before Trump. There was still some willingness to play by the rules of civilized politics in this country. And by civilized politics, what I mean is they're just not calling each other, look at him, he's fat, which, is kind of Trump's whole thing. Look at that idiot. They weren't doing that yet. So when the guy went, you lie, it killed his career. If he had done that, somebody goes, you lie today, they're going to be governor of their home state next election. You'll see. It's changed. Everything's different. So I'm interested in that. Is there going to be heckling? It's an election year, man. Everything is ratcheted up. All right. And just overall, is he up to it? Right? Does he look? Fuck. How is this guy going to campaign? Because he's going to have to campaign hard. Jeez Louise. And I'm looking for is will he talk about Nikki Haley? Like, is that something? Like, is he going to actively court Nikki Haley voters? That'll be interesting. All right, moving on. Here's another interesting thing. You guys following what's going on in Haiti? Holy shit, you guys. This is crazy. And by the way, do you know what Haiti is? Did you look? Haiti's an island. I know it's an island. And I know it's like close to us, but I don't know where Haiti is. Like in my mind, I can picture Cuba and Jamaica. I know where the Bahamas are. I even know where Bermuda is. Like I can relatively put, I don't know where Haiti is. Where is Haiti? Haiti, well, as it turns out, Haiti is, I always knew Haiti was next to the Dominican Republic, but the problem is that I thought the Dominican Republic was a landlocked state in the middle of Central America. See, I was wrong about that. So I thought Haiti was maybe is it an island off the, I don't know what it was. Turns out Haiti is actually part of the same island as the Dominican Republic. Did you guys know that? Haiti and there's an island right next to Cuba. It is between Cuba and Jamaica. I don't know, wherever. I looked at it on a map. But it's there. It's one island, and it's just cut in half. And half of the island is Haiti, and the other half of this island is the Dominican Republic. Isn't that interesting? Now, I'll tell you why we're talking about Haiti. I'll get to that in a second. But honestly, the most interesting thing about Haiti to me is how it supports one side in the nature versus nurture argument. When you consider that the Dominican Republic and Haiti are the exact same place, separated by an arbitrary line drawn up by bankers and politicians, when you understand that, how is it that the Dominican Republic has produced more Major League Baseball players than anyone in the history of the world, more than America? Well, actually, I think that stat is like from the last 50 years or last 30 years or something. But the Dominican Republic cranks out shortstops, cranks out center fielders, cranks out. You look at a list of the Baseball Hall of Fame in the last 20 years, half of them are going to have come from the Dominican Republic. It shares the same island with Haiti, which has never produced anybody in Major League Baseball and has only produced one dude who made it to the high AAA level of minor league ball. How is that possible? That people from the exact same place, because remember, Dominican Republic and Haiti is the exact same place with a line drawn down the middle. Now we're talking nature versus nurture. So the fact that the Dominican Republic is cranking out Major League Baseball players and Haiti isn't, says that that's not a result of nature, because if it was, they would naturally all be from the same place, the same environment, the same everything. They would all be good. It's about nurture. So in this instance, we see victory for nurture, because obviously the Dominican Republic kids are being nurtured, and across the fence line, those kids, they're not naturally good at baseball. Or maybe they are, they just haven't been nurtured. Anyway, I'm always interested in the nature versus nurture argument. Here's what's happening in Haiti, and it's not happening in the Dominican, but I'd be worried if I lived on the border or close to it. Criminal gangs more powerful than Haiti's state security force have attacked prisons and the airport, severing the country's capital, forcing businesses and schools to close and driving an estimated 15,000 people from their homes in Port-au-Prince. Heavy gunfire echoed across the capital as prominent gang leader Jimmy Barbecue Chazet, a gang leader, a gangsta there in Haiti, Jimmy Barbecue Chazet. He announced that his group, G9, was joining forces with other gangs to force the prime minister to step down. So a bunch of street gangs all joined together, attacked the prisons, let out all the other gang members and all the other gang leaders. They all formed one giant weird gangster force, and they are taking down an elected government. They are, and the Americans, for our point, we're not getting involved. You know who's getting involved? You know who's like doing all the heavy lifting here? Kenya. Isn't that weird? Kenya is sending all their forces there to help out the government. We're not doing anything. We're not getting involved. We're like, nope, not doing it. Anyway, here, what else does it say here? Either Haiti becomes a paradise or it becomes a hell for all of us. It's out of the question for a small group of rich people living in big hotels to decide the fate of the people living and working in working class neighborhoods, said Jimmy Barbecue Chazet, the gang leader. So again, now this is all about perspective, right? So how do we look at this? Is this the way we look at street gang members, here in America? Oh, he's just a criminal. You can't fix him. Or is this guy a freedom fighter for his people? Because, when you say shit like that, when you say we are no longer going to allow a handful of rich people who don't even live here, they're living in fancy hotels on the beach to dictate all of our lives here. That's pretty powerful stuff. So now what'll probably happen is that there will be a popular uprising. This guy, Jimmy Barbecue Chazet, will probably be the next president. Hell, he may even declare a dictatorship, which certainly could cause other problems with powers in the region, but whatever. He will flatter the people with, we're taking our country back, and blurk, 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 blurk. And then, of course, he'll become corrupt, and the cycle will continue, and that's how it works. But, man, Haiti is on fire, man. On fire. Speaking of being on fire, we know who started the wildfire here in Texas last week. Biggest wildfire in Texas history. The second biggest wildfire in, like, the history of the Wizworld. Yeah. Guess who did it? Utility provider Xcel Energy said Thursday that its facilities appeared to have played a role. You know that they are caught dead. You know that they are 100% responsible for it, and it is obvious when in their official press releases they say, we may have played a role. I mean, when they're willing to come, when a corporation is willing to come that close, they're dead to rights. It's them. It's undeniable that we may have played a role. Xcel Energy out of Minnesota, by the way. This is that great, let's privatize all these things that we need. Let's privatize it and send it. A Minnesota company is in charge of making sure the Texans are safe from the power flowing through the lines. The utility provider, I believe that the energy should be run by some state body that is overseen by a citizens board, whether it be a citizens utility board, whatever it is. Take it out of the hands of these people who are going to play profits with our energy. We need our lights to turn on, whether you're making money or not. That's what happened. That's happened with the Enron thing. I mean, you remember people died because there's rolling blackouts because it's good for the stock market. And old people on ventilators died in California because dudes were trying to make a little extra money from a 7th floor office in Houston. So XL Energy, they're saying that they may have played a role in igniting a massive wildfire in the Texas Panhandle that grew to be the largest blaze in state history. This all comes after a lawsuit has been filed in Hemphill County that alleged downed power lines near the town of Stinnett on February 26 sparked the blaze. The lawsuit filed on behalf of Stinnett homeowners against XL Energy Services, a Minnesota-based company, and 2 other utilities. The suit alleges the blaze started when defendants failed to properly inspect, maintain, and replace wooden poles that splintered and snapped off their bases. So basically what they're saying how this whole thing started was that the decrepit power line poles that these people are supposed to be keeping up, one of them collapsed, sparking a fire on the ground that created this entire blaze. Tell me again how we don't need regulations. Tell me again, remember that fight? We don't need no regulations. And then the town of West Texas exploded. Nah, you don't need no regulations. We need regulations for things that affect us, the regular people. Now, I'm not talking about, there are insane regulations on all kinds of stupid shit that we need to get rid of the red tape. But as far as our power goes, as far as our air goes, as far as our roads go, as far as the buildings that we live and work in, yeah, there needs to be some fucking regulations. Because if you trust dudes who are trying to make money, they're all coming in under budget. Yeah, we could have double supported that staircase, but that would have cost extra. So sorry about the collapse that killed 40 people. That's what happens in fucking China. That's what happens in Vietnam. That's what happens in, Malaysia, not in America. So yeah, there you go. There should be regulations on the way power is maintained and provided to the taxpaying citizens of this state. And I'm sorry, you guys. If any of you are like, listen to that liberal talk, listen to that conservative. Well, nobody's saying that because that ain't liberal or conservative, dude. That's just fucking fact. That is just fact. There are certain things that we need to go, look, we need this shit and you should be able to make all the money you can. But once you start exploiting us and putting us in peril, fuck you. All right. Yeah. Texas wildfire started by the power company because they couldn't maintain their poles. That's what she said. I don't know what that means. Alabama, Alabama has made IVF legal again. It's in their constitution now. The governor signed a bill down there in Alabama. Remember Alabama? That's the slippery slope that's really hurting these extreme right people. And by the way, I don't include like the pro-choice people as extreme right. That's a reasonable thing for honest, decent brokers to differ on, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life. But there is an extreme in all of these groups that are otherwise occupied by reasonable people. There are extremes. And the extremes who are like, yeah, no more abortion. They then went after IVF. They're going after IVF. And crazy people are seeing this as an opportunity to stop IVF. Well, guess what happened over the past couple of weeks? All the churches are like, no, we're actually okay with IVF. We are the church, the mega churches, the evangelicals, all of that stuff. They're like, no, we actually like when our parishioners who cannot have babies and cannot have giant families, we actually like when you can give them a drug and suddenly they've got like quintuplets, because all those quintuplets will be coming to our church and they'll be making their weekly and monthly whatever tithings. So it turns out that religion, they don't want, abortion. But IVF helps people create new life. And, but still the extreme, there's an extreme that's out there. Nah, it's all demon clone, baby. These stupid people who, whatever. So Alabama put a stop to it because it was the Alabama Supreme Court that started this whole thing. So the governor of Alabama, using her executive powers, basically just went, nah, it's in the Constitution now by executive order that IVF is cool in this state because we need more Christians. It's good news. That's overall good news. Regardless of what the motivation is, it's good that IVF, which is a wonderful, wonderful advancement in human science. IVF has made so many people happy. I mean, just the idea that it's under attack now is gross. It's sad, man. It's sad. I happen to... Do you know that I almost said I happen to know a girl who tried so hard and it was like such a touch and go. Well, that girl's Kelly, my former partner. I don't know why I pretended like you guys don't know who she is. IVF is a good thing, man. IVF has created a lot of wonderful families. Let's see here. What else do we get? The FDA. The FDA is cool with LSD. Well, come on. Shut up, Pugs. What are you talking about? Now, the FDA has, they've okayed a study into, this is all a part of the whole microdosing thing. You know, microdosing, all the silicon billionaires, they do a little bit of acid and then they broker a deal, or they do a little bit of acid and then they create a new function for the phone. Hey, this one makes toast. Single dose of LSD provides immediate and lasting relief from anxiety, study says. So in the treatment of anxiety, they are talking about how these microdoses actually is having incredible success, like incredible success. And it makes sense. If you're tripping balls, you're probably not anxious, but you're not tripping balls. It's a microdose. It's a very small amount. You can still drive, you can still do your work. It's all of that, but it has just such a slight effect. A clinical trial is encouraging results won Food and Drug Administration breakthrough therapy status. This for an LSD formulation to treat generalized anxiety disorder. Let's see. What is the numbers? They're giving some numbers, some great numbers on this test study. It affects time response. 2 other companies have also... Okay, here it is. A single dose in trials, a single dose led to a 48% reduction and remission of general anxiety disorder. So one single dose of this, half the people who were suffering from it, half the people felt significantly better. A single dose led to 48% rate of remission from generalized anxiety disorder. Okay. The MM120 drug also significantly improved. Oh, Jesus. Really? You're going to give me a Sanjay Gupta pop-up? The MM120 drug also significantly improved clinical signs of generalized anxiety disorder. Are you ready for this? All right. So significantly improved clinical signs of general anxiety disorder. So these are people who are currently taking pills, Wellbutrin or whatever it is. I don't know. Thankfully, I don't have anxiety. I'm too stupidly confident to have any real anxiety like that. I have depression. I got anxiety's cousin. So the drug also significantly improved clinical signs of general anxiety disorder for 65%. Jesus, man. All right, so the FDA is taking it serious. The FDA is like, okay, so maybe there is something. Look what they found out. Look what they found out with marijuana. They weren't going to do anything with marijuana for 100 years. It's the devil's weed. And then suddenly they're like, these clinical trials are pretty good. And now there's a CBD store on every damn block. That's what happened with marijuana. Same thing could happen for LSD with the treatment of anxiety. Twitter X. This sucks. This story sucks. I've been telling you, man, Twitter sucks. I do so much less on Twitter now. I'm slowly starting to move back into Facebook territory because just Threads isn't picking up. There's just nothing fun happening on Threads. I try to do that, but Blue Sky's another one. I went there once. I made an account. I've never been back. I don't know. But Elon Musk is ruining Twitter X. I still call it Twitter. Nobody calls it X. Only dorks call it X. He doesn't want it for a social media platform. He wants it for other things. He wants it to be able to sell us stuff. He sees it as a What it was a town square where we were all supposed to get together and have conversations, but he sees access to that, the base that he purchased for $46 billion, as being, one way he's going to try and get his money back, because he way overpaid, is to somehow commercialize it. And if that means he has to radically change what Twitter is, he will. He's already changed the name. The name he changed is X. And, X is the name of his original company, which was sort of a precursor to PayPal, or was it PayPal? And they changed the name of PayPal, whatever it was a money transfer and lending site. That's what X was. And Elon Musk has now changed the name of Twitter back to X. And what is he going to do? He's going to turn it into a money lending site. That's what he's doing. He's going to turn it into a bank, because maybe he can make his money back if he's holding everybody's money. Elon Musk said on Wednesday that his social media platform X is considering getting rid of showing the number of likes and allowing reposts. So, retweets and all that, and how many people saw this and how many people liked that. Yeah, he's taking that shit away. He is slowly changing the experience so that he can kind of, like a herding dog, push us into a whole nother thing. Look, it may not be Twitter anymore, but you're already here and you're already signed up. How about putting all your money in an account with us? And then you could trade it among your friends. It'll be like Venmo, but with conversation. So that's what he's trying to do. He's going to get rid of the likes. The fuck? That's the whole reason that it's so addictive, is because people get the in their brain. The endorphins start firing every time you see a new like. I got a new like. Ooh, who liked what I said? And don't lie to yourself. That's what it's all about. But Musk is going to take that away. He's going to take that thrill away. While speaking at the Morgan Stanley Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference, Musk also said X is a few months away from receiving approval as a money transfer site. It's a license that they are waiting for approval from the state of New York. The platform, formerly known as Twitter, is seeking to add features with money to the app, which Musk has previously said would include the ability to send payments to other users. It's not what it was, man. You people are all like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's just not what it was. And that's why I laugh at anybody with a blue check. Anybody with a blue check who isn't repping a business. Like, if you're repping a business, I get the blue check. That's fine. But if you're just a regular dude who has never paid for Twitter, and now all of a sudden you're paying $8 for something that's free, you better fucking tip this show, because you're obviously throwing money away. It's free. You are giving the richest man in the world a bailout because his ego demanded that he spend $46 billion on a site that was probably worth about 27. Jesus, stop it. It's like, no, by the way, people with blue checks who are just like, I'm Steve from Tulsa and I got my blue. No respect for those people. Like, that just tells me so much about them. It's like, Jesus, carrying water. It's free. What? Name one other thing in the world that is free that people are like, I'm just going to start paying for it anyway. What? There's nothing that it is magical what Elon Musk has been able to do. It's not going to be free anymore, and I'm not going to kick you off. You can still stay if it's free, but this blue badge, he knew what it meant. He exploited the ego and the narcissistic nature of people who wanted to be seen as someone special. That's what he recognized. The blue check used to be for verified celebrities or notables or people who Twitter as a platform wanted you to know that this person is speaking on this subject and you should take them seriously because they really are expert level on it. That's what the blue check meant. That's what the verified was. And it became a class system. Oh, you're a blue check. Oh, you're just a peon with no blue check. So when they made it possible for you to buy your blue check, God, it just showed how many of you are just desperate to be somebody because you just got that blue check. And I'm like, I'm willing. But except everybody knows it doesn't mean anything anymore. It's the blue check on Twitter has gone from meaning this person is serious, we should listen to them, to meaning this person's a fucking idiot and don't pay any attention to him. Which is a very strange shift in only about 18 months, isn't it? All right. You guys. Fuck. Running out of time here. I got to talk about this. This is the big story of the day. I know what I'm going to be doing in my birthday because I can't believe this is happening on my birthday in my town. It has been announced that Jake Paul, who I think I might like. Oh, I know. I've seen interviews and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I might have this dude wrong. He's actually kind of smart. He's actually really clever, and if this is a bit, I could. Jake Paul's going to fight Mike Tyson in Dallas on my birthday. What a present! And it's going to be free. Well, if you got Netflix. And who doesn't have Netflix? Dude, if you are paying for a blue check on Twitter but don't have Netflix, yeah, Tyson versus Paul from AT&T Stadium on July the 20th of this year. Arlington going to host Mike Tyson. 57-year-old former champ Mike Tyson is taking on Jake Paul. Now, we don't know if this is going to be a real fight. We don't know if it's going to be sanctioned. We don't know what we don't know yet. They haven't announced that. All we know is that these two guys are going to step in the ring and ostensibly going to throw hands. Who do I think is going to win? I'm so scared. I'm so scared because here's what's actually a truth that I think a lot of people don't want to admit. Jake Paul is a very big dude. Jake Paul is a very big dude who seems to have taken the transition to boxing very seriously, in where you could have called him a joke 3 years ago when he stepped into the ring. Like, who's this guy that just stepping into the ring thinks he can be a boxer? This fucker's been a heavyweight boxer for 3 years now. And yes, he's been handed tomato cans because, people want to see fans of Jake Paul, the younger people out there. They want to watch him beat the shit out of somebody, but he's been handling people. And now he's stepping in against Mike Tyson. Jake Paul's a big dude. And Tyson's 57. Now, look, programming, I talk a lot about programming. Programming says, oh, Tyson's going to kick his ass. And he very well may. But I don't know. He's 57 and Jake Paul is like what? 26, huge, ripped, has proven himself to be quite athletic. He is. He's quite athletic. No matter what you think of him, he is what he is, man. He'd whip your ass. Everybody watching, just so you know, everybody watching, Jake Paul would whip your ass. I mean, I'm assuming that it's all of us normal people. I know most of you. Frank, Jake Paul would whip your ass. Barney, Jake Paul would whip your ass. Pugs, Jake Paul would whip your ass. Adam, Jake Paul would whip your ass. Byron, but me and Byron would suffer heart attacks while trying to get our shirt off to fight this guy. Because one thing is, we'll take that fight. We'll probably lose to some 27-year-old yoked, or however old he is. It's going to be exciting, though. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a spectacle. I hope it's real boxing. I hope it's sanctioned. I don't know how the Texas State Athletic Commission is ever in the right mind going to sanction 57-year-old Mike Tyson for a heavyweight fight of this magnitude, but they might. Crazier things. Hey, money's at stake, right? Who knows? There you have it. Well, actually, I should give you the details. Let me give you the details. YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul has previously teased a professional fight against the baddest man on the planet, Mike Tyson. And the pair will now meet in the ring on July 20th in Texas. Boxing legend Mike Tyson is making a shock return to the ring to fight social media sensation Jake Paul. Now, this is also the fight that people have been calling for, because the people who hate Jake Paul are like, we'd like to see Mike Tyson put him through the fence. Dude, it's not 1989. Yes, in 1989, Mike Tyson would I don't think Jake Paul could take a Mike Tyson punch, right? Very few elite heavyweights ranked 1, 2, 3 could take Mike Tyson punches. So I don't know that Jake Paul, who is a decent, he's a decent boxer. I don't know that he would ever be ranked. It's not. I think he would probably cave in his rib cage and that would be it. But I don't know about it now, man. I don't know about it now. Barney says, I have no illusions. I'm too old to take an ass whooping and too fat to run. I don't throw hands. I throw lead. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't throw lead. I throw insults. And then just let the chips fall where they may. Byron says Jake Paul's 85-year-old neighbor can beat up at. Oh, I'm not going there. I don't think that's the case. Byron says you assume I'll be wearing a shirt. Yeah, that's true. I did. I made the assumption. Frank Smith. Is Frank a blue check? Like, I love Frank. And I guess yeah. Don't have a blue check, Frank. It's free. You know, instead of that, send that $8 a month to this show or whatever it costs. And he does. You know what? You do both, Frank. I appreciate it. All right, there you go. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul on my birthday. Oh, so here's what's going to be fun for me. So, you know, I'm like a broke ass dude living in my rich friend's guest house. That's my whole thing. That's my brand. But I got a lot of rich friends. Like, I got a lot of like really connected friends. So between now and like the next July 20th, between now and my birthday, I'm going to take every opportunity to just put it out there. Boy, you know, the greatest birthday present for me this year would be if someone get us some tickets, me and my son, to see Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Because those tickets are going to be insane. But I'll drop that out like when we're drinking. Yeah, my birthday's coming up. You know what I'd really like? I'm just going to throw that out there. Maybe one of my dumbass rich friends. And you know that they're actual friends when you can call them dumbass rich friends. That's okay. They call me their dumbass loser friend. So it's cool. We get it. Tyson versus Paul on Netflix. Hey, how about Texas Congressman Ronnie Jackson? You know, this guy. A lot of people made fun of this guy. This guy falls into my whole thing. If you can't size this dude up in like 30 seconds of watching his body and the way he talks, come on, man, be better. Ronnie Jackson, Rear Admiral Ronnie Jackson. Remember wasn't he? Yeah, he was Trump's doctor. He was Trump's White House doctor who came out and said he's 6'3", 215 pounds, and looks like an Adonis. And everybody went, what? What? But he became Trump's favorite. He knew how to become Trump's favorite by putting himself on the line to look foolish by saying how much of a specimen Trump was. Trump's not a specimen. Neither am I. Stop it. Can we just stop gaslighting people? Trump's a big old fat old man. And you know what? It's good. It's good. It's actually a good thing that he's a big fat old man. Because if you're a big fat old man, that means you're healthy. You know, I worry about Joe Biden's like all skinny and gaunt. Trump's out there golfing. He's a big fat guy. He's like, I'll have another steak. I mean, he's made it this far. Those people, big fat guys who eat steaks and all that stuff, if they're going to die, they die at 45. They drop dead of a heart attack at 45 when they're, 50 pounds overweight. Trump's fine, health-wise. But Ronnie Jackson did not have to come out and do that. That was just embarrassing. Well, Ronnie Jackson has been bumped down by the Navy. He's been stripped of his Rear Admiral title. He's been bumped down all the way to captain. So he was a Rear Admiral, and then the Navy's like, yeah, nah. Why? Because he's an alcoholic. I mean, that's been the knock on him. He went on, he did a bunch of news things years ago where he'd give interviews as the president's doctor, and he was obviously drunk. He was obviously slurring his words a little bit. The Navy has stripped Representative Ronnie Jackson of his rank. Former White House physician Representative Ronnie Jackson from Texas was quietly demoted by the Navy after a Pentagon Inspector General's report substantiated allegations of inappropriate conduct and bullying of staff. This according to the Washington Post. Citing a current defense official and a former U.S. official, the Post reports that the previously unreported demotion lowered Jackson to the rank of captain instead of Rear Admiral. However, he still describes himself as a retired Rear Admiral. Why not? I mean, if you have no principles, why not? It's like me when I go out. That's like me when I go out wearing my Columbia sweatshirt. I have a sweatshirt, a college sweatshirt that says Columbia. I don't care. If people think it's Columbia in New York, that's fine. If people want to think I went to an Ivy League school, that's fine. I didn't. I went to Columbia, Chicago. It's different, but whatever. Same colors, and people think it's the same thing, which I think is funny. All right, Ronnie Jackson wants to keep calling himself a Rear Admiral. All right. It does say something about you, though. It says that you're willing to manipulate people with things that aren't true. So he was busted down for inappropriate conduct and bullying and drinking. Here, we'll get to that. Where does it talk about that? Jackson has not yet commented on the demotion. A Navy spokesperson was quoted saying the substantial allegations against Jackson, bullying subordinates, fostering a negative work environment, and openly abusing alcohol inappropriately. How is that? That's a weird sentence. How do you abuse inappropriately? See, now I'm going back to journalism school again. You don't need to say both of those words. Oh, well, they have obviously fired the editor. All right, so that's what it is. It's bullying subordinates, fostering a negative work environment, and abusing alcohol inappropriately. These actions are not in keeping with the standards the Navy requires of its leaders, and as such, the Secretary of the Navy took administrative action. All right, that's interesting. I mean, I am certain that there are some very good doctors who are also Trump voters. Why did they go with this guy who just is not a good look? It's just not a good look. Hey, Dakota Johnson and Chris Martin are getting married. Did you know Chris Martin wasn't with Gwyneth anymore? And by the way, apparently Chris Martin's got a type, doesn't he? He sure does. Moving through here. Rust, that Hannah Gadsby Lee, the armorer on the set of Rust, the Alec Baldwin movie, she was found guilty of manslaughter or whatever. She's probably looking at 18 months and like a $2,000 fine. I think that's fair. Again, why is it fair? Because I don't think anybody in their right mind goes, this was done on purpose to kill this one. No, it was negligence. It was negligence. It was a mistake, and it was a mistake that everyone involved would probably love to take back if they could. I probably would. So, yeah. So, apparently she was partying. As I've been saying all along, I go, do you know what happens on these sets when they break for the day? The crew hangs out because they have to live there, especially when they're on location shoots like this. They all live in dormitories. They party. They get drunk every night. They get high. They're doing drugs. I said this from the very beginning, and guess what? That was proven in court, that she had used marijuana, alcohol, and cocaine the night before she failed to identify live rounds in her armorer's kit. She somehow, and she is negligent for that. She is negligent. Oh, I don't care what caused it. You could be saying, well, it's because she was high. Okay, well, that's bad, but it doesn't matter. I don't care what caused it. I care that we now know that she did it. There were live rounds mixed in with shit that shouldn't have been live. And she is responsible for that. So, God, it's a terrible thing, but she didn't want this to happen. But there has to be a price to be paid so that the next person knows how fucking serious that job is. Next up, Alec Baldwin. And I'm telling you, a lot of you people are going to like, he's a moider. Oh, shut up. He's an actor who was handed a gun and went, I'm an actor. Terrible tragedy. That's going to come down to what you understand about an actor's job in relation to a prop master and an armorer. Like, if you believe that the actor has the right to, the actor stands there and these prop masters and armorers then hand them things. Should an actor have reasonable expectation that what he has just been handed by a fellow professional is right? I think he does. I think the actor has a reasonable expectation that the gun that has just been handed to him by the person on set whose job it is to make the funny fake movie guns, I think there was a reasonable expectation that he could never have imagined that there was a real bullet in that. And yet some of you people, for politics, because he hates Trump, you want him to go to jail for that? Jesus Christ. How about just settle for his career is over? How about just settle for that? You got him that way. Nobody wants to hear from him anymore. You got him. But come on, man. You start going for people like this. How long before they come for you? How long before you do something or I do something that is suddenly deemed inappropriate or bad? Fuck, man. Come on. She should go to jail. She should. She was in charge of it. He's just a stupid Hollywood actor. All right, we'll see. His trial's coming up next, but she has been found guilty. What else should we do? I want to give you a little update. Jesus, we're running out of time. Oh, I was supposed to end early and we're just going to go the full 2 hours. Byron, yes, you're right. Byron says Alec was also the producer, ultimate responsibility. No, not ultimate responsibility, because when you're talking about ultimate responsibility, you're talking about the chain of actions that occurred just prior to the woman being dead. And in that role, he was an actor. And yes, he is the producer, which means that he has financial responsibility. He certainly does. He should be on the hook for any civil cases that want to come from that family, but I believe they've worked all of that out. Which is why, oh, that's right. We all have to see this movie. Remember, we all have to watch it. Even if we just put it on and walk away, we all have to see the movie, because half the money is going to the little boy. The little boy that of the mother was killed in this tragic accident. Half the money that the film makes is going to that little boy. So we got to see this movie, because that's how you make it right. You want your pound of flesh for political reasons because you hate a guy or whatever, man, you do you. But really, it's about what is justice, what is right. Well, nothing is going to make this right. But what can make it better is if we ensure that this movie makes money and that this son is, at least in the absence of a mother figure, that this son is at least educated, cared for, all of that stuff. All right, I want to talk about something fun now. Okay, Red Bull. Red Bull F1. We've been covering the Christian Horner story. He's the team principal of Red Bull Racing. He's important. He got accused by HR. Someone went to HR within the Red Bull organization, the Red Bull F1 racing organization. And it's a big deal because he's the biggest guy. And he's like Bill Belichick. He's like the Bill Belichick of F1. Like I said, the team principal is both like the general manager and the coach of the team. And they're the best team in racing. And he was accused by someone who works at Red Bull Racing of being sexually inappropriate. And they did a long 3 weeks. They did a 3-week investigation, and they cleared him of everything. And that was the big news. They because on the eve of the new season, which was last week in Bahrain, congratulations, Max Verstappen and Red Bull winning again. On the eve of the new season, it was they handed down their decision and they cleared him of everything. That was like 5 days ago. Today the headline is the woman who complained to HR has been suspended by Red Bull Racing. She complained to HR about the grab ass or whatever. They did an investigation. They found out she wasn't being truthful. And now she's being suspended for that. Whoo! A lot of moving parts in that. Because a lot of us just want to jump to, well, the investigation was probably rigged because he's too important. They probably just protect, and that's a possibility. But do you not have any faith in institutions? I mean, if that is the way we're thinking about everything now, then we are doomed. You got to just believe that okay, there's an investigation. This is what we do. When something happens, there's an investigation. We have to trust in the investigation. Just because the investigation didn't go the way we assumed doesn't mean that the investigation was rigged. That's what people who lose elections say. Every time I lose, it was rigged. I lost. And then they won. By the way, you hear that? Trump dominated Super Tuesday. Not one mention about rigged elections. Not one. Just that one wasn't rigged. That one was legit. So I don't know. I mean, if we are someone who still operates in a universe where we have the modicum of respect for the institutions, then we have to go with the judgment of the investigation was that there was no truth to this. So then what do you do with an employee who rolled the dice trying to take down the top dog in the company? What do you do with that person after you've convinced yourself that she made it all up? Because that's the results of the independent investigation. What do you do? They suspended her. And I, again, believing in institutions and saying, well, let's just wait for the investigation. And then the investigation being what it is, I think that's fine. Because we can't operate in a world where we think that all women who bring charges are being honest. We have to understand that there are some bad women out there. There are a whole bunch of honest victims. There are real victims. Investigations time and time again prove that their stories are true. This one is, I understand, a bit difficult because of the understanding that we are talking about a multi-billion-dollar Formula One racing organization. And the biggest. And Formula One is enjoying I won't say it a resurgence. I'm going to call it an emergence here in North America. Certainly Formula One in North America has broken through big. I mean, do they really need a scandal at this time of just unbelievable growth for the sport in new markets? I mean, it is soccer and Formula One racing are, I think, truly the only global sports that, everybody all over. So I don't know. I just think that's interesting. Christian Horner accuser suspended by Red Bull after inappropriate behavior complaint and subsequent investigation. It's a heavy one, man. Again, moving parts there. Is she telling the truth? Or is she someone who is looking to take advantage and make a little cash, maybe hoping for a settlement and get out of the business, whatever? Or is the institution, is the system corrupt? And did they protect their $1 billion boy? There you go. All right, folks, that's it. We got to get out of here. I apologize. I gave you a full 2 hours. I shouldn't apologize. You guys are the best. I love you. We'll be back tomorrow at noon, and I'll let you know how we did on the moolah and all that kind of stuff. It's rainy. Again, maybe something to do with the State of the Union. So if you haven't followed or liked or subscribed or done any of that, do all that stuff. YouTube, Facebook, however you do it. Do all that stuff so that you'll be notified if we decide to all get together and watch the State of the Union together. Oh, boy. You know how I hate politics and all of that. I mean, but it might be fun just to make fun of everybody. I don't know. That's the nice. I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at noon, okay? This has been the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran on the Radio Misfits podcast and live streaming network. These are my last few words.